I think their models are great, but sometimes the detail puts me off. Oh my God, that's great, but...
Yeah, am I going to enjoy painting that? I feel like there is Warhammer getting too detailed. That model there, the
Almost
front one,
epitomises,
that is the subject. Is Warhammer getting too detailed? I almost feel like it's a bit like someone saying, the quality of TV's getting a bit too sharp now. The process is horrible. But
when you get there.
Yeah, when you get that model done, it's the detail that you love about it.
That's almost the kind of quandary, isn't it, with the whole thing, that it sounds and looks cool, but realistically, you've got to paint all that. I'd have the ability to paint it, but I just wouldn't have the mental kind of endurance to paint it. I'd be like, no.
Mentally endurance.
Mentally, I'd be halfway through one and be like, yeah.
The bin's calling.
That scalpel's looking good for my fucking throat. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Sprue Goons podcast with me, Dickie, and just Darren. I can't think of anything funny to call you anymore.
I'm just Darren
Just
now.
Darren, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, how you been?
Yeah, good. I feel like we've got, I know we say it every time, but we've got a little bit to catch up on. There's a hobby show in there and an Easter break, so no painting for you.
And majorly an airbrush malfunction, most importantly.
Most importantly.
Most importantly. So yeah, yes, get cracking onto it then. Hobby nonsense, I suppose. So
hobby nonsense.
fresh off Salute, which I suppose a lot of people are. My voice is going now. What's going on there?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. Yeah, Salute has just gone. Just Saturday, just passed. So I suppose we could talk through what we thought of it.
Yeah.
But actually, it was we managed to speak to one of our listeners, didn't we?
Yes. Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, you're going to do a catch up on Salute." Actually, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Thanks for that. Hello, if you're listening. So it was 4 of us this year, wasn't it? We went up early Saturday morning. We live about, hour and 20 away from Salute. So
yeah, not far. It's kind of our biggest local.
Yeah. So it was me, Darren, obviously, my brother, and took my little boy this year. So first time trying to indoctrinate him into the hobby.
Yeah.
He was really good. Quick side note about he was really good. He got a bit impatient standing around for the queues, but
talking about your brother, or
yeah. Come on, dragging him along. I got some sweets in my bag. Hang on, wait, that sounds wrong, doesn't it? He was really good, but because he's only 5, he doesn't quite grasp the don't go over to the big display and pick up the models and try and touch the plane that someone spent 10 hours painting. No, put that down. No, leave that alone. But no, he was really good. He come into me first thing about 6:30 in the morning. Dad, come on, wake up. We've got to go to the model show. Like, oh. One of the proudest moments of my life.
Yeah.
But no, he was really good. So yeah, we drove up there, parked up and went in. I don't know what you thought, but the queue was huge. It was a
I felt like there was a lot more people there this year than last year.
Well, obviously I didn't go last year because I couldn't make it, but I feel like since 2020, since COVID and like Games Workshop's massive kind of spike in profits and lots of people coming into the hobby because everyone was stuck at home. So I'll give it a go.
Yeah, true.
Feels like the hobby has exploded, and it almost, I don't know what you think, I'm probably going to start off bashing it. Don't get me wrong, Salute was great, I loved it, I had a good day, but it did feel a bit like they haven't caught up to the surge in popularity. Does that make sense?
I think so. I think I was surprised that some of the stands that you expect to be massive weren't massive. And I don't know, I know, you've obviously got like budgets and things to think about, but I suppose where we're always looking at like new systems, I feel like Salute used to be for us, go and see what new systems are out there. But I think we've got our ears so close to the ground that we rarely go there and find like a new system. Yeah. So we're kind of going there with like, we'll do like a hobby haul, get loads of paints, brushes, have a look. And for that, I don't think it was very good.
No. And also for me, this is a personal point, obviously it doesn't affect anyone else going, but for me, having my 5-year-old son with me, because it was so busy and I felt a lot of the stalls were quite small, like in terms of like square footage.
Yeah.
Like Element Games' stall was very small, I thought, and trying to push your way through to get to the paints that you want to get with my 5-year-old son. You know, trying obviously so busy, don't want to lose him in the throng of sweaty nerds. It was almost to a point I was like, oh, I won't bother. I'll wait. And again, that's not my fault, but that's kind of that was a personal.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely. I think Element Games had enough stuff that if you were prepared to kind of hang around and be a bit patient with it, I think you could have got what you wanted. But I know that you want to get some Pro Acryl.
Yes.
And I think they had a full Pro Acryl rack there, but you're a bit like, nah, I'll leave it because
I can't get through. There's so many people. Obviously, I've got to keep an eye on my little boy, and I can't, proper have a look at the colours and then. But that was my own personal kind of gripe I took I'd rather have taken my son than, look at some paints for like half an hour. But that's what the expo's for.
Yeah.
But the positives, and again, it was good. It was a massive turnout.
Yeah.
It was it was good. The Arcworld stand, which for us was brilliant.
Yeah.
And again, my little boy loved it because the ladies at Daddy, can we go back to the Pro Acryl stand? Can we go back to the Arcworld, please? Because I like the ladies, the two running the stall. So he was chatting to them, and
they gave him a little Arcanite.
Yeah, gave him some Arcanite. They were really, really good with him. And then obviously we got to meet Alex, creator of Arcworld. And you had a good old chat with him again.
Yeah.
My point of view
really
was
nice.
It was a bit frustrating because I couldn't really get fully involved in the conversation because I had my little dad putting on, trying to drag. So I was like, oh. But no, it was really good. So I spent a small fortune at the Arcworld stand, which was kind of, for me, was the plan.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
We checked the Expo trader list and they're not going to, well, as far as we know, they're not going to the Expo. No. So we were like, right, well, we've got to spend some money there while we can.
But also, I'd say that kind of good for us, but one of the biggest, not necessarily disappointments, but there wasn't the new releases there. So the new Warcry box set wasn't there.
No.
The event exclusive miniatures weren't there. Steel Rook and I can't remember what the other one is.
Is it a
Commissar?
Commissar,
yeah.
I
can't. There was another thing that wasn't there, but we were just.
Well, GW had no presence at all, did they?
But Wayland Games were there, and I was expecting. Don't know. It was almost like they were having a bit of a clear out.
Well, you watch now. This will be when people comment and say, actually, they were all there. If you went to this stall, well, we didn't find them because it was so busy. Like
didn't find them, so they weren't there.
They weren't exactly. Well, you wanted to go. You met Louise Sugden.
Yep.
Rogue Hobbies, and you had the intention of buying the new Goblin, which is released.
The dungeon one.
The dungeon one,
not
sorry.
Not
the brand new.
The night one, I mean.
Yeah, and night one, and it was just sold out.
Yeah, so they literally sold the last one as I'd got up to it.
Bloody hell.
So.
But no, it was again. It's that case, like we said before, going to a hobby show, having a look round. It was really good. It just felt, because I haven't been for like 3 or 4 years. For me, it just felt so busy.
Mm.
And again, I wanted to look at the painting competition, but couldn't really get in there. And
I think it was a lot more accessible than something like Golden Demon.
Yeah.
But even so, there was, like you say, it was just, if you had like another 2 hours, then it would have been.
I also think as well, because Salute is on one day.
Yeah.
Which obviously it is great. I think it's quite good that you can go to it for a day, it's done. But because it's on in one day, everyone goes, and obviously everyone goes on that one day. Yeah. Whereas like the Games Expo, it's over 3 days. So you'll get people, I'm going for the Saturday and Sunday, I'm going for the Friday, I'm going, it kind of spreads it out a bit.
And it starts at 10 as well, which is, I know it's only an hour, but it's slightly less, the window. So you've kind of got that
less time
huge rush at 10.
Yeah. But no, I still had a good time. Really enjoyed it. I picked up the Arachnid Queen, which is a big monster model for Arcworld, which was a great model. And you got the human faction set, and
an ogre.
Yeah, my brother got a few bits for the Dark Lords, which again, if you don't know what Arcworld is, we're talking a different language now. But basically, we bought some faction models. But the spider is like I would call it the fantasy equivalent of an Imperial Knight for Arcworld. It's one big monster model, which is essentially an army. So that's going to be my new project when I get going. Yeah. But
that sort of leads us on to the next thing, really, which is we had a game of Arcworld.
Yes, we had a game of Arcworld just this Wednesday just gone. And again, I used the spider, unpainted, on a cardboard cutout base.
Well, let's Let's cut that.
Literally. No, it was because the base I've done some like PVA and like done a bit more of a scenic base for the spider, but it was still wet because that was the only day I had the chance to build. I built it on the Wednesday, did the base on the Wednesday. So Darren and my brother came over the Wednesday evening and the base was still wet. I was like, so I just cut out a bit of cardboard, the same footprint as the original base, and just blue tacked the spider to it. So a few episodes ago, me moaning about someone using a base for their model, I wasn't far off it myself. But at least the spider was built.
Yeah.
But
and he was on it. He was on the base.
Yeah, he was on a base. Not the right one. But, oh my God, it's devastating.
Yeah.
80 wounds, just loads of activation points. Absolutely brutal, but definitely killable. I don't feel like it felt unfairly
I think if
powerful.
It wasn't late, it would have died. You know, it's what we sort of, it was like 11:30 and
we were like, let's just stop.
He's got 14 wounds left, but it will die eventually. But
I do feel like, if you had it could be killed. It's not too scary, but I was doing quite a lot of feats, which in the Ark world is essentially like you kind of make up abilities, don't you? Kind of like a bit of a D&D kind of thing. Like, I want to climb this tree.
Yeah.
And then you kind of agree between you on a dice difficulty for it. So I kept climbing up the big trees we had on the board and disappearing into the canopy above and then dropping down. It was really cool. But yeah, your human faction, I can't believe how good they are. Yeah, their rifles are absolutely devastating.
I did roll quite well as well.
Yes, you did, yeah.
For attacking. Yeah, there was that moment where I did 11 wounds to one of John's
monsters,
units.
His biggest fellbat.
And he saved them all. One by one. Because Ark World, that's how it works. If you fail the first one, all the wounds go through.
But you keep going until you fail. But John failed. Success, 11 rolls. Well, it was less because you got a couple of sixes, which count as 2 successes. Again, sorry if you don't know what Ark World is, we're talking gobbledygook, but good game, you should check it out. So that's kind of really all.
Yeah.
Hobby-wise, apart from building the spider and making a PVA base, I haven't really done anything because it's been the Easter holidays.
Yeah.
Then we've come back. Then obviously this week the kids have gone back to school, but I've had a lot of kind of things to do. My sister is moving into a house, so been fitting some carpet for her. She used to be a carpet fitter, so I've been roped in. Can you fit me some carpet? So I've been over there all week fitting carpet for her. So the hobby's had to take a bit of a back seat this week, annoyingly. Next week it's going to be full steam on the spider.
Next week is your week.
Next week is my week. But speaking of the hobby, Darren, would you like to enlighten us about the airbrush kind of situation you've had?
Yeah, so I know a couple of episodes ago we talked about the fact that I'd got an airbrush, gone through just a kind of, I suppose it is a cheap one really.
No, it is. It's a start. The compressor's a compressor, but it's like a starter brush, isn't it? Really? So
just to kind of like, wet your feet,
essentially ruin the airbrush so we can then buy a better one.
Yeah, so. And I don't know how many times I've used it, probably 3 or 4, and it's just essentially completely broken.
Yeah, but you haven't done anything. I think it is a faulty airbrush because
I've cleaned it about 1,000 times.
Took it apart. You cleaned the needle. You cleaned the whole thing. Your pressure's right. We kind of did a checklist. We went through it all. Have you done this? Have you done that?
Because you've got exactly the same one.
Yeah,
and yours is fine. So I think So I'm sending it back basically. So, and I will. I don't know whether it's necessarily lesson learned, but I will. The aim is to get a better one. Mm. Yeah.
Well, you kind of know how to clean it now. You know how to adjust.
I know how it comes apart. I know how to use it. I know one of the tutorials that I watched said about when you go for air and then you pull back for paint.
Yeah.
Don't come off.
No, go forward again.
Go forward and then up.
Yeah. So I won't lie, I do forget. I do know that, and I do try to do it, but I'm not going to lie. When you're in the middle of airbrush, I do go, and I forget. I just take your finger off and forget. Yeah. So
I might have done that, a few too many times. Nothing that can't be cleaned.
No, a clean should sort that. Yeah. So the fact that you've cleaned it, taken it apart, put it back together, and it's just not. Yeah. Just not blowing. Yeah, is it not blowing air or just not blowing paint?
It's not blowing paint.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And you've thinned it enough. I don't know, on live discussion, but
I think it's just I think I'll.
It sounds silly. Did you try and put like water through it?
Yeah.
And
I've tried everything.
And it just wasn't even blowing water through.
No,
that's something wrong with it.
Yeah.
Because if like I said, if you're not thinning it enough, that might be why the paint's not coming through. But if you're putting water in the cup and it's still not blowing the water through,
it's just really inconsistent. Like you pull it back, and it will not spray anything, and then you pull it back again, and it will like go, and then it will spray nothing again, and then it will spatter, and then it was just
this is
gave up.
This is what I say, like, this is what you come to when people say, oh, airbrushing's easy, airbrushing's the easy way.
You're cheating.
You're cheating if you use an airbrush, or it's not real painting. But like, again, like we said, it's almost like a hobby in itself, learning how to use an airbrush well. I wouldn't say I even use it well. I can use it, but yeah,
it's like, airbrush is cheating. Yeah, if this is cheating, I don't want to cheat.
Yeah. Do it properly, please.
Give me a brush.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of
a very brief overview of Salute. So it was good. I enjoyed it. I had a good day.
Yeah.
But
I think Expos.
Again, we did go in from the get-go saying that Salute is almost a warm-up for the Expo. We're up there for 2 days.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a bigger show. It's a longer show.
Child-free.
Child-free.
So I can proper like.
Plus, you get the kind of, I know we talked about it before, but you get the road trip and the advantages
going away, being absorbed in the hobby for two a weekend, eating terrible food, playing lots of demos of games. That was another thing. Like going back to the Salute, like demos. It was so busy. I thought anyway. Again, I could be wrong. People might correct us, but we wanted to play Moonstone because it's a game that we've always kind of, should we? But I feel like Arkwell's become our Moonstone.
Yeah.
But still a game I'd like to play.
Moonstone, I think it's like it's a smaller version of Arcworld as well, isn't it?
Yes, because you don't use many models.
No.
I would say it's a bigger game in terms of popularity. You know, more people play.
Yeah, and there's more. It's a bit like Malifaux in terms of how many like different models and you can mix and match. And there's maybe a few more elements.
But I know what you mean. In game terms, it's probably a smaller game. You use less models.
3 or 4 models,
We looked at the queue for a demo and there was like people playing and then there was people behind them waiting to play and we were like, oh, no, we'll leave the queue. Again with my 5-year-old. But again, in the Expo, like I said, it's a warm-up to get into show season for us. So for the Expo, it will be a case of we're there for 2 days. If we have to wait for an hour for a demo, I'll wait for an hour. No rush to.
And I think as well, like, because not necessarily because Eli was there, but I think we kind of like walked past Shatterpoint, and I was like, "Do you want a demo?" Because I think regardless of what your thoughts are on Shatterpoint, I think you should have a demo. But I think we weren't in kind of the demo mindset. Whereas I think if Shatterpoint's at Expo, we're there for 2 days. Spend half an hour and have a demo. It is a demo, It's, I've done the demo last year at Salute. It's roll a few dice, It's a very kind of
demo.
Oh, I think you should move Anakin here and try this. It's not like do what you want and you'll be here for 2 hours. It's
Thing is, I'll be honest with you. The reason I didn't want to play Shatterpoint is because I'm worried that oh my god, this is great. Right, another system to the list.
You'll be buying Dooku back.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, so that's I think the Expo will be a lot. Well, that does worry me slightly in the sense of if that's how busy Salute is, what is the Games Expo going to be like?
Okay. Well, I think Chloe said, Lady Kane, who we had on last time, she mentioned that the Friday was a better day for that reason. I think the Saturday will be busy. I think the Saturday is kind of.
But again, we've got no rush to.
No, we'll have kind of sounded out what what we're looking at. Probably play the majority of the demos maybe on the Friday.
Probably won't buy anything Friday.
No, it'll be a dry run unless there's anything that's kind of that might not be there tomorrow.
Yeah. But I think a bit of a live discussion again about what we're going to plan is. But I think Friday just have a wander around the whole show. Mentally note what you want to go back to, and then Saturday get in, get it, get out.
Hang on.
Right, so one thing I want to talk to you about, Darren, before we move on to the main topic. Bit of a controversial one, but I want to see what your thoughts are on it. You might have heard about it, but the Adeptus Custodes new codex has just been released.
Yes. Yeah.
And do you know what I'm going to say already?
No.
Oh, you don't? In there is a short story introducing female Adeptus Custodes. It's a woman one. Woman one? It's a female. Female custody. And the community or the online, obviously I'm talking Twitter, so it's probably just a load of trolls, but the community has kind of reacted to it, because in the old law, it's always been they were the emperor's personal guard, taken from noble houses for 1,000 of them, all the sons of noble houses. These are all brothers, men. They're men. Now they've introduced a woman one. Did it again? Female one. A woman one sounds weird. A female custody, and Games Workshop have come out on Twitter, I think it is, and they're almost gaslighting the community in saying, "Oh no, there's always been female custodies." And obviously a lot of people are like, well, hang on, all of your books, law, previous codexes have never, ever mentioned female custodies. And now, the way things are, nowadays, we're trying to, insert women into certain positions and things like that. I'm not going to go into all that. But, it's like, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I was actually talking about this, not this specific thing, but I was talking about Rings of Power, the Amazon series,
Absolutely.
Where you had like
awful show, but
diverse elves, and it's he's actually talking about Fallout and the fact that Fallout is very diverse, but you've got no source material, so be as diverse as you want. That's brilliant, love it,
100%.
Get diversity in wherever you can,
exactly.
But he was saying about the Witcher series, where you've got a character in there that's a certain way in the books, a certain way in the game, yet in the series, I haven't watched it, but it's played by an Indian woman. So it's kind of,
don't watch it.
It's a case of absolutely all for diversity, but what
force insertion.
At what cost,
basically.
I suppose.
I 100% agree with the Rings of Power reference, because I've got nothing against diverse elves. D&D, you get black elves, that's fine. Nothing wrong with it. My problem with the Rings of Power one is that it's basically going completely against the source material.
Yeah.
Tolkien wrote the book, and in his book, there were black people. They were like the Easterlings and all that. They were, you had your black faction, your female faction, you had it all, but to, like you said, force the diversity.
I think that the shame of forcing it isn't. It's not a kind of, a boomer view of they weren't this in my day. It's more. It feels like tokenism, which I hate.
Yes.
It's the complete opposite of what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You're trying to include a more diverse. You're trying to put more diversity in it, but I don't think you are, because. It's almost cheapening it, and saying, we'll keep this section of society happy because there's black elves. Yeah, that's not keeping them happy.
No,
they don't feel represented.
No.
Like that's ridiculous.
Most people that will be watching your program want you to stick to the source material.
Yeah, I don't know. It is. I know it's a very divisive topic, but I think that. The one thing I don't like about it is the whole point that they're doing it isn't, it doesn't work. It has the opposite effect. I don't think it's a case of, they're more inclusive because they've added it. I think it's the opposite.
For me, I don't like the way that GW are kind of almost gaslighting the community. And actually, they've always been in there. It's like, no, they haven't. You haven't mentioned them ever in your law. They've always been men, sons. Coming from the noble houses, and then trying to insert the fit, which is fine. It's your law, you do what you want. If they come out and said, we want to be more inclusive, we want to basically bring in female custodies, I think more people would be accepting of it, and maybe write a retcon in the law to explain that they've now started taking, a bit like they did with the Primaris Marines. They write a reason why it's happening. Yeah. Maybe there's a reason they could write into the law of why females are now being introduced into the custodies. Fine, but to just do it and then go, no, it's always been that way. Yeah. It's a bit like you said, sort of forcing it in for.
Yeah, I was thinking if they'd said, there's this new thing coming out and it's telling the story about like a secular group of, I don't know, see what I mean? Like coming up with a new thing, which was, hang on, we never knew about these. They're not in the law. Yeah, they're not in the law because they were a secret society.
A bit like the Votan, you mean? They got brought in.
women that are like custodians. You see what I mean? Like,
the thing is, though, what makes it even worse is there are the Sisters of Silence.
Mm.
They are almost like psycho versions of the custodian. You know, they work alongside the custodians. They are females. They're all women. So it's like, why are you forcing a woman into the custody role when you've got women represented in that role? Do you know what I mean?
The only thing I would say in their defence is, like, they've written it all.
Yeah.
So if they wanna change stuff,
that's fine. That's what I was saying. It's fine.
Change it.
Absolutely fine for them to bring in female custodians. Like you said, it's their IP, it's their law. Do what you want. You know, what can I do to stop you? But it's almost what I think people are getting annoyed about is the way that GW have just done it and then kind of gaslighting everyone, going, no, it's always been this way.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, write a short story in the Custodian's book of the first female custody and how she's been, you know, how she's become the first female. Yeah. Oh, wow, okay, this is a story explaining what's happened. Fine. Then moving forward, you can bring them in.
Yeah, you can bring more in.
But just to bring a story randomly, bring this lady or woman as a female custodian and then be like, yeah, that's how it always has been. So, I think that's what people are getting a bit annoyed about. But I do think, my personal view, this is a testing the waters for female Space Marines. That's what I think. I think they're doing this.
It's my only chance to do Space Marines.
Yeah, just to piss everyone off. I think they will bring in female Space Marines down the line, and this is their let's test the waters on Custodies, a smaller sub-faction of, like, not Marines, but a smaller Imperium faction that is primarily...
A less popular.
Yeah.
It's popular, but
it's a smaller group. They're all men.
Yeah.
Let's sneak in a female one, see how that goes, and then maybe moving forward we could do female Space Marines, which I think people will kick off about because the law is written that I think it's even written in the law that you cannot have female Space Marines. I don't think they can withstand I don't know what the law is, so I don't want to get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's something in the law that...
The thing is, I suppose the problem is when you're referring to source material that's like 30 years old, it will have out of date views and so they will regret the fact that Space Marines have to be men and they're strong men and it was all and the women did this and they weren't strong enough and they'll be regretting that because now they want nothing more probably than to in the army men and women fight alongside each other, so why wouldn't they in 40,000 years time?
But then they do in 40k. You got Cadia got full of those, women are in that representation. You got Sisters of Battle, a whole female army.
Yeah.
Sisters of Silence.
Yeah.
Harlequins have got women. Eldar have got women. Drakari. It's not like women aren't represented in Warhammer 40,000.
No, that's true.
But it just seems a bit like, why are you kind of forcing in a female custodian into a... Is it because they're all men and you feel like, no, that's not fair. You need to put a woman in there. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe it's to kick the wasp's nest.
Yeah, well, it's worked because it has annoyed a lot of people. That
be a female Grey Knight next.
Obviously, that's what I mean. That's what I think they'll do. Though they're just testing the waters with a smaller kind of sub faction of Imperium and seeing how it goes. Well, when I say, obviously, like I said, there's lots of females, but one of the ones that are men, like the Marines, the Custodies, the Grey Knights, and they're like, oh, let's push that in and just see how that goes. I think, which again, at the end of the day, personally, I don't really give a toss. I don't play 40k. I don't follow the law. I just think it was an interesting topic to bring up because it's really kind of in the moment.
Hot topic
at the moment. I wonder what your take on it was. So I think we're kind of on the same line that no problem personally bringing in female Marines, Custodies. Your law, you write it how you want, but do it better. Yeah. I think don't just do it and then go, no, it's always been that way.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
No, I think if you want to do it, then talk to the community, explain your reasoning. And then write it in law-wise that makes sense. Don't just do it and go, there, that's in now. Oh, okay, that's weird. And then expect no one to be a bit annoyed about the fact you've just done it. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But so we get, thought I'd bring that one up for you.
Yeah.
See what you thought.
No, that's interesting. Yeah, I think it's,
Again,
poses a bigger interesting question, doesn't it?
Don't really want to go down that rabbit hole. I feel like we'll get ripped apart online.
I feel like we have a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but...
Yeah. So I think that's kind of, that's hobby nonsense, really.
Yeah, complete utter nonsense.
Yeah. There's a few other things, like I've had an offer accepted on a house, so...
Yes, a proper studio is in the works now.
Studio's kind of,
these awful ramshackle podcasts will be done in a proper...
Oh, yeah.
Proper mics, proper studio. It actually look like we know what we're doing. which is obviously
a
complete lie, but you know.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, oh, definitely. There'll be better smoke and mirrors than now. So,
right, let's get to the meat of the episode.
Okay, boss.
So, today we're discussing the question: is Warhammer getting too detailed?
I don't know what some people might be a bit of a hot take on some of this, but and we'll probably end up talking about something completely different and going on a tangent. Like
we won't answer it, but that's the idea.
Yeah,
that's the aim.
Is Warhammer too detailed? Brackets, we don't know.
Yeah.
And there you go, done.
Yeah. I think it's a bit of a weird question. So I know that a lot of people talk about like detail creep, and that's kind of, what we'll touch on. But is Warhammer getting too detailed? I almost feel like it's a bit like someone saying the quality of TV is getting a bit too sharp now. It's kind of like, no, come on, you know.
You don't have to paint your TV.
No. Hang on.
Wait, where's that? We've been going wrong.
No, but I suppose that's kind of, I would come at it from there's no such thing as too much detail, but like you said, it's that balance between you have got to paint it, and I would say as well, the hobby more and more. Games Workshop is trying to get new people into the hobby, and I wonder whether making your miniatures more and more detailed is a good way to do that, or whether it's not. You see what I mean? It's kind of like, if you want to get new people into your hobby and kind of start them off painting, they're not going to want to start off on some Thousand Suns, are they?
No, but that's probably, again, what's going on? I'm sticking up for Games Workshop, but that's probably why they would say we've got like the Stormcast. Yeah, excellent. We've got the Stormcast Eternals and we've got the Space Marines.
Yep.
You look at them, they're quite, relatively, quite straightforward.
And you've got things like purity seals you don't have to put on.
No.
Things like that.
But the thing I always go back to, and I've heard a few other people say, and I kind of just echo in what they say and what they think, is that Games Workshop models are beautiful miniatures. They are, I'm not going to sit here and go, they're rubbish. They are some of the best in the world by far, easily. But I do wonder sometimes if they don't kind of make them for gamers.
Yeah.
It's almost like the models are beautiful, but you make them without gamers in mind.
Gamers in mind or painters in mind?
Gamers in mind. Because they make them for painters.
Yes,
people that want to spend 50 hours doing a squad of 5 Marines. Oh my God, they look stunning, but the rules have changed in those times you've done that. Those 5 the editions change so regularly. But it's almost like that kind of Jurassic Park quote from Ian Malcolm. Just because they could, they never stopped to think if they should. In that sometimes it's like, I think their models are great, but sometimes the detail puts me off.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's great, but look at all that.
Yeah, am I going to enjoy painting that?
Yeah. But they, I don't know, really.
I should,
yeah.
I should. And that I suppose a benefit of them being more detailed is the payoff is big at the end. I know we've said about it before, but it's like kind of defeating a boss in a game, that you've been trying to kill for hours. It's kind of like the process is horrible, but
when you get there,
when you get that model done, it's the detail that you love about it.
And the accomplishment of I did that. I got through. I paint. Look at it.
Look at this incredibly detailed miniature that if it wasn't as detailed, it wouldn't look as good. Whereas it is that detailed. I've gone through it, and
I definitely feel like there's a balance that needs to be struck.
Yeah.
Between detail and kind of
practicality.
Yeah. And I think sometimes Games Workshop, on the scale, I'd say sometimes Games Workshop kind of tip a bit too much into the detail rather than the practicality of it. Which is, again, if their game was a skirmish level game, like across the board, Warhammer 40,000, you played with 10 models, like Kill Team was their standard.
Yeah.
Then I'd be like, go mad. Do as much detail as you want because you've got 10 models. But it's more like, trying to think of an army off the top of my head, Thousand Suns, for instance. All Chaos Space Marines, most Chaos Space Marines in terms of the trim, the goal, the It's like, oh my god,
yeah, the chains, the skulls.
Yeah.
It's
a bit like, yeah, that's great, but I've got to paint 60 of those. So, and if you want to do it to a good level, if you really want to push yourself, you're going to be there for the best part of a year just painting like 50 models.
Well, about 10 years from now.
Yeah. I do feel like one good benefit of it though is it does let you try out different techniques.
Yeah.
So like leather on belts, on bags, metallics, cloth, skull, bones, especially on Warhammer models, they like their skulls. Skulls everywhere.
Love a skull.
They do love a skull. Things like that. It does give you opportunity to try lots of different techniques on a model.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not really sure if sometimes it's a bit too much personally for me.
I don't know. I think what you were kind of touching on just before is a good point, which is if it's a single model, I can't imagine Belial, or I know you eBayed him, but Belial or that Mortarion model. It's, you love the fact that it's got all this like leather, you've got like pus, and do you know what I mean, like all those different things, but it's when you've got the detail at the lower level, like you said, which is I've got to paint 40 of these. When clan rats become detailed, it's like, really?
Which they have.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they're overly detailed, but they're definitely more going on than...
Well, I think the Stormcast, I sent you a picture of the Stormcast that they've released.
Yes.
And they're getting, they're more detailed. They're getting detailed now. And again, it looks brilliant. It's a bit like, you don't want to moan about it, but
that's the problem.
If I've got to paint 10, I've been doing my combat patrol, my Tyranids, and I painted one of my Barbagaunts, and I loved painting it.
And it looks great.
Playing around with like the sort of energy bits on it, and like trying to get it to look like almost a bit like OSL. But then I'm like, I've got to paint another 4, and that's only unit 5.
Yeah.
And they're not even that detailed. So I think if you're...
So would you say that potentially overly detailed models, not that Tyranids are overly detailed, but it doesn't, I know what you're saying.
I've done that to myself. I could have made it a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, but I suppose that would be the argument anyone would say. We could make it easier, but then it depends how far you want to push that model. But I would say a Marine... Say a Cow Space Marine army, it's hard to slap chop it. You've still got about 4 belts, 5 skulls.
You've got to do the trim. You can't not do the trim. Well, you can.
You can, but yeah. Would you say that kind of level of detail on a model leads to burnout?
Yeah, I think so.
I think, depending on army you can choose, I definitely think it can.
I think, it also depends what your motivation is, and I know we've talked about it before, about how important like the lore and things like that I think they come into it, even with the irrelevant to detail. I think if you're really into the lore and you're into your kind of your painting, you've got say 5 Terminators, oh god, these are really detailed. But I think if you're gaming with them, you're into the lore, it's going to help you, because when you're painting that detail, you've got a bit of a better understanding. Oh yeah, no, I want to do their claws like this, and do you know what I mean? Like Whereas if you're just trying to smash a unit out, or you're commission painting, then it's a bit like, oh yeah, another leather belt, another this, another that.
But I think with like 3D design and all that now, with how they design the models, I think the problem is, I'm not a Games Workshop designer, and I do think sometimes they chuck another belt on. Yeah, that looks cool. They don't really stop to think, someone's got to paint this.
Yeah. I know we've talked before, but sometimes it is a case of less is more.
Yes, definitely, because there's a few, again, going back to Ark World, some other games that we play, even Legion, I would say.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know a Legion is like a famous IP, so they can't cover Darth Vader in chains and belts and skulls, but I should do. But for instance, they feel more like gaming pieces.
Yeah.
Whereas Warhammer sometimes feels like bespoke miniatures for display. But no, that's an army, and you've got to paint 60 of them, and it's cost you about 600 quid. Yeah. I'm not bitter.
Here's my credit card.
Yeah, fine. But I don't really personally, I don't really like how detailed Games Workshop models are becoming.
Do you think that the detail makes them more realistic?
Yeah, but then you're kind of talking about an 8-foot Space Marine with skulls on his back, you know. So realistic, I don't know. No, I don't think so.
What about like sculpted bases? I would say have them more detailed, but put more energy into like sculpted bases, because I think they're cool. And we've said before about how much.
See, now we're gonna.
I know what you're gonna say now.
I don't like sculpted bases in that I don't like being forced to have to paint what they've designed. I like, if I want to go mad on the base, I will sculpt my base. If I want it just to be, I need to get these done.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I'll just chuck some Stirling mud on the base or some Vallejo texture paint, and I'll get that done. Do you know what I mean? So whereas like, say you had an army of Tyranids, for instance, and every base was sculpted with pustules all on every base, and you'd be like, oh my God, I've got to paint 30 of these.
That sounds cool though.
Yeah, but it sounds, again, that's the thing. Yeah. That's almost the kind of quandary, isn't it, with the whole thing, that it sounds and looks cool, but realistically, you've got to paint all that. And there'll be some people out there that don't give a toss. That this is great, I'll paint it all day. And there's
some people that don't base their miniatures at all, as we've discussed.
And then there's, but no, that's because I'm doing a scenic base through my own choice. Yeah. You see? But yeah.
No, that wasn't.
I thought that was a spider dig.
No, it wasn't. I was referring to our last podcast about...
they don't even...
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Basing is a chance to kind of customise the model, go mad if you want to. But I do like the bigger sculpted bases, you know, if you look at like the Lion or Guilliman, you know, where they're...
I don't mind it on character pieces, or I don't mind it on more Warhammer Underworlds warbands, because you've got the max, 7 models? You know, most warbands are 4 to 5 models. Sculpt the bases all day, because it's a small... Again, it goes back to what I said before, that if Games Workshop's games were at a much smaller scale, I feel like going absolutely crazy on the detail for the models, sculpting base, making pre-sculpted bases, covering them in bells, skulls, chains, whips, whatever you want to put on them, that's fine. Yeah. Because I've got 5 of these. They're going to take me a while because they're really detailed, but I've got 5. Yeah. Not, this is a unit of 10. I've got to then paint another unit of 10. And then I want to paint you get Tyranid flashbacks now. But you know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah. And I think it's... I suppose when they're that detailed, you feel like to be able to do them justice, you need to go a bit more balls deep as well, I'd say.
Especially if you spent like 40, 50 pounds on the unit, or you know, you spent a lot of money on it. They're really detailed. You feel like I suppose maybe, do you think it's too much pressure for a beginner or someone who's just starting out? Like, they've spent a lot of money on these models. They see all the detail and think, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm in over my head.
I think definitely it's not really beginner friendly. I think what we're kind of discussing is it getting, it's not like, is it too detailed, but is it getting too detailed? As in, where's the line? You know, at what point does a miniature come out and you go, Jesus, you know, that's crazy.
For me, that line came a while ago.
No, that line came in 1980.
All right, shut up, not that old. No, but I feel like for Games Workshop, for me, not every release, you know, I'll give it, you know, I'm not saying every release they do is stupidly over, but there, like you said, even you're starting to see it now with that Stormcast, you're like, bloody hell, look at all
And again, it comes back to the fact that you've got to do 10 of them. I'm not saying it's too detailed, but I'm saying, doing 10 of those.
It's too detailed in the game system it's designed for, I think, is a good way of looking at it. You know, like I said, look at Legion. Yeah, but the thing is, I say that I can't really use that as a fair example because it's not an original IP, is it? It's Star Wars, so a stormtrooper is a stormtrooper. Yeah, you can't really say.
They can't embellish it. Really.
Trying to think of an IP where they're again, I would say maybe going back to other skirmish games like Moonstone or Arkworld, or you know, they're enough. There's enough detail. They look cool, but they look achievable in that I can get that painted.
I think they're better for beginners. But also, I don't know whether. Not necessarily with Arkworld, but some other companies, I feel like their lack of detail isn't intentional. I think if they could sculpt it like Games Workshop, they'd sculpt it like Games Workshop. I think, you know, they're not kind of making them more simple out of choice. it's kind of like, oh, that's a little bit cheaper to cast. Not so much.
Yeah.
Not so much detail.
But again, I know this is about Warhammer being too detailed, but they're not the only company that do have overly detailed miniatures. No. There's lots of other companies on the market which do, you know, like the Ravage Star. You've seen those? Yes. They're very detailed. You know, it's almost like they're trying to emulate the Games Workshop's design philosophy in that more is more.
Yeah.
Not, you know, it's like...
Well, that's Mini Wargamer Dave.
Yes. Which, again, stunning models. They look great.
And he loves corn.
Yeah.
So he loves a bit of detail, loves a bit of trim.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see that kind of inspiration.
Yeah, but there's other companies, I can't think of it. There was another one I thought of, I can't think of it now, but their models are crazy detailed. But again, their models are like a one-off. It's a display piece. So go crazy. But what I mean is at our army level, I think Games Workshop's models are too detailed.
Well, like Louise Sugden's Rogue Hobbies models, they're massively some of them are massively detailed, but you haven't got to paint 10 of them.
No, they're a bigger scale.
Yeah,
it's a one-off piece.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, hang on, this is
and they're kind of designed to be fun to paint.
And they are fun to paint. I've got to get back to mine because I love doing it. But yeah, I think for me, my conclusion is they should probably find you need to find the sweet spot for you personally.
Yeah.
So if you think they're too detailed, then try look around elsewhere for something that's not quite as detailed. For me, I think at the army level that they want you to play it at, Games Workshop's armies are too detailed.
Yeah, there are. I think if you want to do Warhammer, but you're thinking, God, there's so much detail, just maybe look at armies. It sounds wrong, but look at armies that aren't so detailed. But you shouldn't be constrained by detailed.
No, you shouldn't. But I think, or try a different system.
Yeah.
Start going at Kill Team, going at Warcry.
Yeah, true.
Which is, you're still getting that Games Workshop goodness of the model level detail, but you haven't got to paint 60 of them or 70 of them, or 100, depending on what army you choose, 100, you know.
Or you could just be really good at painting loads of detailed models.
Yeah, in which case this whole argument is a complete waste of time because, you know. The thing is, I can paint high level detail miniatures and enjoy it.
It's more the mental
strain of
it's a motivation thing. I think it comes down to just powering through.
Well, it's like with my Drukhari Combat Patrol. Again, I'll get back to that. I've got to do the Raider and the Ravager. They're like halfway there. But I painted the Incubi, painted the 10 Cabalite Warriors, and I was like, phew. And they're not even, I would say, some of them more, they're slightly older, so they wouldn't say they're, overly detailed.
They could be more chains and skulls.
Yeah, the reskull, when they come out again, they'll probably have much more chains and
they'll be like Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah. But even those, I was like, imagine doing like 20 Incubi, imagine doing 40 Cabalite Warriors.
But again, that's partly due to the level you did them to. If you were just airbrushing them, kind of, over black, over pink,
done. Yeah. Wash them, contrast paint them. Like I said, I suppose you do need to find that sweet spot of what level you want to paint them to. And if you want to do a high end, like a really good, really, really, really good level paint job on a Warhammer army, maybe think about it before you do it. Because I think you really have to be committed to that army to paint a whole army to that level.
I think regardless of whether it's detailed or not, that's a bit of advice, which is think about the size of the task. If you're going high level, if you've got a deadline in mind, and if when we spoke to Lady Kane, she was saying about that she had a
World Eaters.
Yeah, World Eaters. She was a real kind of passion project.
She was just taking. That's fine. Yeah. But if you have plans or ambitions to play the game, maybe scale back your painting level, or
in the next 10 years,
or play something else.
Yeah.
So as usual, we haven't really answered it like we never normally do.
Yeah, but I think there's some interesting points in there.
Again, I think we'll get ripped apart on that one. I think people will disagree heavily with what we've said, but that's
that they are too detailed.
Yeah, I think people will disagree.
What's with the kind of TV analogy?
No, with the whole thing in general. I think people will say they're not getting too detailed.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You
can't have too high quality TV.
No, you can't have a too high quality miniature, but I think you can when...
You can with painters in mind.
Yes. Oh, gamers in mind. Like, for instance, my brother, he doesn't care about painting.
Yeah.
If he's got cool grey models that look really... He don't care.
What would you say about like storage, just as a last point? They don't really think about transporting your models.
That's like a different kind of... but I suppose it is a tangent to it, isn't it? Yeah.
The more detailed the model is, the more...
The wispy, especially you play like my Nighthorn army, was an absolute nightmare to transport because it was so spindly and, you know, they were...
I wouldn't say they were necessarily more detailed.
They're
just
probably less detailed, but it's more
not really designed for, again, gaming in mind. You know, when you game with them, you're knocking them over.
No, that's a good point because transportation on these armies, especially when you get these big elaborate like Nighthorn or Dragons.
Big elaborate Skitari on stilts.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I that's a really good point. I do feel like it goes back to what I said. I do think Games Workshop don't really design their games or armies or models with gamers in mind. Yeah. They want to make the prettiest looking models available for people to go, ooh, pretty.
They want to see it in a Golden Demon cabinet.
Yeah. And they want people to buy them because they look pretty. Oh, that's a cool model. I want it. They don't, you know, if they brought out functional, slightly less detailed models, especially now, people would be like, oh, they're rubbish.
Yeah. They've lost it.
Yeah, where's the detail gone? Well, you know, that's not the usual Games Workshop level. They've almost kind of made a bit of a rod for their own back.
Yeah.
They have to keep pushing it, which is great because it's good for our hobby that the models are constantly, that level's constantly being raised.
And it's good for those display pieces, you know, to be able to say you could probably take anything from Games Workshop's range and go balls deep and enter it in Golden Demon and win, I'd say. You know, maybe not everything, but certainly character pieces. You know, I don't think you could say that with other companies necessarily.
I think a good example, again, I could be wrong, but Lord of the Rings, the range of that is a lot more scaled back and a lot more basic because it's an IP, they can't push it. But people, I've seen comments online, you know, Games Workshop's Lord of the Rings models are rubbish. You know, there's nothing going on. They're not very, but it's because they're not, you know, pushing the bar and going mental and like they do on their own IP. So, like I said, I feel like Games Workshop almost kind of set the bar now.
Yeah, set the bar high.
They have to keep raising it. But I think, like you said, well, like we've said, painters kind of get almost left behind. Oh, it's hard to, I don't know, because there will be painters out there that kind of say, no, I love it. I love all the detail.
Oh, yeah, certainly people that only paint for competitions will be like, you know, you see a new miniature come out and be like, there's not enough detail on there. Come on, give me more leather, give me more.
Skulls.
Maybe not more skulls.
I feel like it's that kind of, I think it's almost like people at our level in that we want to have a gaming army, but we want it painted well.
Yeah.
They're the people that I feel like suffer from it. I feel like people like my brother and other, you know, that just want a game, don't care what the models look like. No. They don't care because they're like, don't care what it looks like. I don't care how the paint job is. I don't care if it's painted. And people at the other end who are like higher, they want to do a really high-end display piece, or they don't mind if it takes them 5 years to paint a 500-point army. They're fine. I almost feel like it's the middle people that want a good level paint job on their models, but they also want a full army of 2,000 points. They're almost the ones that are getting stung by it.
Yeah.
Us, basically.
Basically, this is just one big excuse as to why we haven't got 2,000 points.
Yeah, we're trying to Copium, the Copium podcast, basically. We're just trying to deflect the fact that we probably will never get 2,000 points painted.
Yeah, I don't know, one day.
Well, no, we won't, let's be honest.
They got on eBay before you get 6,000 points.
Yeah, definitely. I got to 1,400 points in my Nighthorn and they went. But I it's what going on a tangent now, but the people out there listening or anyone sell something and then thinks, oh, I wish I never sold that. I never get that with the Nighthorn. I'm like, no, don't really bother me. So, Too detailed. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's points. There's some decent points for and against.
Let's see us get ripped apart. Actually, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, that's fair. Can't argue that.
Again, fair point.
Yeah.
Right, time for Sprue or False.
I haven't.
You're in the mastermind chair this week.
God, here we go. Okay, so it's my turn next time then.
Yeah.
Okay. Hit me. Not literally.
So, you should use a matte varnish on every single model.
I'm going to say false. Firstly, I think for gaming pieces, you should use a varnish of some description because you're going to be picking them up, putting them in a box. You know, they're going to get wear and tear as you use them. I don't think you necessarily need to for display models because that's not being touched.
No, although would you use a matte varnish for a display model?
I would maybe use a matte varnish for locking in certain parts of the model you've done, or if you want effects, say you want something to look shiny, you could use a gloss varnish on it.
Yeah.
You want an eye to look shiny, you could use a gloss varnish on it for a display piece. But I think as a rule of thumb, no, you shouldn't put matte varnish on every model, I think. What about you?
No, I think same.
I think matte varnish for or it doesn't have to be matte, but I like
that was aimed at you really because it was matte varnish.
Yeah, but I do like a matte varnish, but I like the way it just blends all the colours together. It ties all the colours in.
If you use, I know the one that we got, the Max Matte from Green Stuff World. Yeah. Have you found another one?
I was going to say they do one below it, which isn't quite as matte, which I'm actually looking at getting again an expo purchase maybe because they do Max Matte and then they do just matte varnish.
Yeah.
Which I might try because sometimes I do like the Max Matte varnish, but sometimes I feel like it's almost too matte. It kind of dulls some colours.
Yeah, I found that on the Wraith that I did. I put the matte varnish on it, and I'm like, it's almost taken all the properties of the material out.
It blends it together too much.
Yeah. It's like that doesn't look like cloth anymore.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's too matte. I'm thinking of getting, because I know Green Stuff World do Max Matte, which we've got, and then they do matte. So I'm thinking or looking at getting the matte one, which is like one below. So it still have the matte finish, but it won't be quite as matte, obviously.
Won't absorb like 100% of light.
But no, I do think, gaming pieces, Sprue, and
a varnish.
A varnish of whatever one you like, your varnish of choice. But a display piece doesn't necessarily need to be matte varnish if you don't want it to be, because it shouldn't be touched. You know, it's a display piece, it sits in the cabinet, so you get the proper colours. Yeah. But unless you want to use it to, like I said,
lock in
colours or tie in the colour, like, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, like
the blending.
The blend of the colours together. Yeah. So say you do a contrast and it dries a bit shiny, or you've got a colour that doesn't dry quite how you wanted, you could use a varnish on it to blend it together, tie it in with the other colours, like tones, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll say false. Next one.
Dry brushing is underrated. Sprue or false?
I think so. I think that's Sprue. I think it is underrated because, especially if you see the kind of levels now that like Byron from Art Soaps can get to, that's crazy. I've attempted it, and sometimes I still can't get there. Now I've got the dry mat, I've got the sponge. I've followed his tutorials online, and I have got it to not his level, but I have done it similar, same kind of effect. And when you can get good with it, it's absolutely brilliant. I do feel like some people see it as a bit of a beginner's, dry brushing, that's a beginner's technique. But I do think for certain things, it can really help. Yeah. Again, if you're going back to you want to get a tabletop level army, dry brushing is invaluable. Yeah, just dry brushing.
And I think for OSLs, it's underrated.
Yeah.
Again, I've not really used it for OSLs, but what Byron does with
it's
kind of makes sense.
Yeah, but I think that's next level dry brushing. But no, I think it is Sprue. I think it is underrated.
Mixing paints from different manufacturers is okay.
Yeah,
Sprue or false?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's Sprue. I think it's fine to mix them from different. I've done it. I've mixed different colours from different manufacturers. Obviously, it might change the way the paint dries, the way the finish comes up.
Yeah.
Obviously,
you've got a matte and a satin.
Yeah, like you've got a GW kind of paint, which is kind of a satiny kind of finish, and then you mix it in with a Vallejo or a Scale 75, which are very matte. You might get a slightly different finish to what you're expecting. But no, I think there's nothing. I've done it before. It doesn't really make any difference. Acrylic paint's acrylic paint. It's just the kind of way it dries.
The way it dries, maybe the way it reacts, the way it
because obviously
waters down.
Scale 75 are like gel based, aren't they?
Yeah.
Compared to GW, which are water based. So it might react. You might have a bit of a harder time mixing certain brands together, but in general, I think Sprue. I think it's fine. What about you? You agree?
Yeah, I agree. That's a good answer.
Boom.
I think
Another Sprue or false smashed out. And probably complete wrong answers on all of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
Oh yeah. That's fine.
That's the aim. Right. So Time for paint grey eBay.
Maybe if we'll ever get any graphics or kind of sound overs for that. We should get little jingles in between
You've
each
got
section.
graphics, but yeah.
We should do like little sound bites, get someone to do some. Who do you know who can sing? No one. So
we've got in the interest of detail, is Warhammer getting too detailed? We've got some very detailed models for paint.
What we would class as detailed. Mate, I think one of them isn't quite as detailed as the others.
It's not quite as detailed, and I would say this is more. There are definitely more detailed models, but this is a case of there's more than one. You know, these are detailed. Not infantry, but detailed kind of
small units.
Small units, rather than something like Mortarion or
which was our first thought. We thought we'd go for a big centipede, but then that kind of that's fine because it's a centipede. You want it to be detailed.
Yeah, exactly.
So that kind of goes against our.
Whereas these are there's 10 of them.
Yeah.
You know, do you want to go to that level?
Yeah.
So first up is Exalted Sorcerers from Thousand Suns.
Yeah, which again great.
That look incredible.
Yep. Then it's the Chosen from the Chaos Space Marines, a unit of Chosen.
Yep. And then it's the Blade Guard Veterans.
The Ultra. Well, are they Ultramarines or I'm not sure if they.
I think they can be.
I'm not sure. It shows our 40k knowledge, but Blade Guard Veteran.
These are Ultramarines.
Yeah.
So
picture here, wherever Darren's put it. There we go. I don't know where he puts it. So I'll let you go first because I'm not going to lie, I'm struggling on this one. So you think you've kind of got a bit of an idea. So give us your reasons and what one you're going to paint.
So
start with paint.
Yeah. So although these look like a logistical nightmare,
I know what ones you're talking about.
the Exalted Sorcerers, the Thousand Suns, I think they look incredible, and I think the payoff for these would be worth it. Out of the three, I think they look amazing. And so, as hard as it would be, I would paint them.
These, you've always had a soft spot for Thousand Suns.
I love them.
Years ago, when they first released, you were like, oh my God, you've always had a bit of a thing for them. So,
yeah, that sort of Egyptian robes. Yeah, I love them.
So,
and I love that colour as well, that kind of teal colour. It looks great. So, yeah, they'd definitely be my paint.
So you'd paint the Thousand Suns.
Yeah.
What would you leave grey?
I think I'd probably leave grey the Blade Guard Veterans.
Really?
And
yeah, well, I knew they.
In true Darren style, I'm going to eBay some chaos.
Yeah, I thought you would. I know that the Chaos Space Marines that are Chosen are going to get eBayed. But saying that, Thousand Suns are chaos.
Yeah, and the thing is, I like these, but
you don't like them.
I don't like them enough to paint that much detail.
Look at that as well. Like we were saying, like chains, skulls.
Yeah, they're they've got everything. All rounder.
All rounder. Exactly what you were talking about. Okay, so that's you. So I just can't decide because firstly, you've chosen 3 Marine factions, which you know my Marines.
You can't put them all on eBay.
No. I don't mind, to be fair, I don't mind Chaos versions of Marines. I have more.
But then you said earlier that you quite like the Blade Guard Veterans.
I do quite like
which
the
is
Blade
massively
Guard,
controversial.
because I like the sword and shield kind of thing. But I think I got it. I am going to paint the Chosen Marines because I'm more opposite to you. I love a bit of chaos, and I almost feel the same about them as you do the Thousand Suns. In that they're not a logistical nightmare.
No.
But the terms of the effort, the skulls, the chains, the horns, even though I was like, bloody hell, look at all that, I feel like, a bit like you said with the Thousand Suns, the payoff would be worth it.
Yeah.
When they're painted, you'd be like, oh my God, they look amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave grey the Blade Guard Veterans.
No, you've let me down.
Because again, I just think, as Ultramarines or Space Marines go, they're just pretty cool.
Yeah.
They
look cool.
They're not massively. Out of the 3, these are probably the least detailed.
Yeah. And I eBayed your Chosen, so.
Yeah, it's just revenge, basically. And I quite like them. I just, I think they're a solid unit. I like them, but not enough to paint them over the Chosen.
No.
And I would leave grey the Thousand Suns. Now, before you rip me a new one, I think, again, they are stunning.
Yeah.
But for me, they're almost too much.
Yeah. That
look at that headpiece, all those gold lines, and they've all got capes. You've got to get behind those capes or sub-assembly them. It's like, no, I feel
like that is Warhammer getting too detailed. That model there, the front one, that is the subject.
Look at it. You should put that on the.
And that's not even that new.
Look at it. It's got that arm. 1, 2, 3. It's got four arms on that side. 2 arms on that side. They've got flame come flat. No, look at it. That's just stupid. I take it back. Warhammer is far too detailed. No matter how much you look at it. Look at it. Come on. I'm almost getting a bit annoyed looking at it. No, they'd be eBayed just
that is embellished.
That's too much. I just know. I think they look great, and don't get me wrong. If I saw that paint, I'd fair play. That looks stunning. But I just could not have the mental. I'd have the ability to paint it, but I just wouldn't have the mental kind of endurance to paint it. I'd go, no.
Mentally endurance.
Mentally, I'd be halfway through one and be like, I think, yeah.
The bin's calling.
That scalpel's looking good for my fucking throat. I couldn't do it. No. So there we go. Paint the chaos, leave grey the blade guard, and eBay those horrific Thousand Suns.
Wow.
And on that bombshell,
yeah, that is Paint Grey eBay for another episode. Right, time for listeners' questions.
Here we go. So the first one we've only got a couple this week, but the first one is from Mark, our mate Mark, Above Average Minis. Hello, Mark. And this one's quite a good one, actually, because I think I spoke to you about this a little while back, but are alternate coloured orcs blasphemy? Example, blue orcs instead of green. So I can go straight in and say, no, I think it's great, because I did, before I got the Drakari Combat Patrol, I did toy with the idea of getting the Orc one. They've released a new Orc Combat Patrol now, but I like the idea of doing red Orcs, like in the World of Warcraft. You get the red Orcs. I quite like the idea of that. So no, I don't think it's blasphemous at all. I love the idea of it.
I did read something that the Orcs in Warhammer used to be red.
Really?
Like originally.
Don't know.
But maybe look into that.
Yeah, maybe you're talking out your arse.
Yeah, maybe.
No, Mark. I don't think. Not at all. I think that they are great, different colours.
What about if you did them flesh?
Maybe not flesh. I think.
Okay,
so not every colour, but I think like red, blue, yellow. I think it's just different. Obviously not like I think I like the idea of like red orcs.
Flesh would look weird.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I'm like, hang on a minute, human orcs.
What do you think?
No, I don't think it's blasphemy. I'd be tempted to maybe do them red because I think it would look cool. Purple would probably look quite cool. There are colours that lend themselves to orcs. I know when you did your Rumble Slam team, you did a purple, like the big purple thing.
Yeah,
that looked great. It wasn't an orc, but it was like flesh, that kind of like bulgy orc flesh kind of thing. And I think purple works quite well. There probably are certain colours, that look a bit weird,
like flesh,
Bidden brown, or But black orcs. You get black orcs, don't you?
They're not literally black.
No, but
they're just darker green.
Dark, yeah.
So still green, just a different shade.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark, for that one. And the other one we've got is from 198_Hammers, and he asked the big important questions. Favourite dinosaur?
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you go first, Darren. You are the dinosaur kind of aficionado.
I do love a dinosaur.
Do you love a dinosaur?
But I'm going to be really boring.
T-Rex.
Yeah.
Oh, you've let me down.
But I will caveat it with, it's just iconic. Jurassic Park have made it iconic. I love so it's not, you've got one on a cushion over there, but it's not, it's not T-Rex in general. I don't know. I suppose it is really. Like the sort of like the tiny little arms. I love Rex from Toy Story. That character's brilliant. My dog's called Rex.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like, if it's not T-Rex, then you fucked up.
Yeah.
So
to be fair, I'll take it back. Yeah, you'd be a bit stupid if you didn't say T-Rex.
So T-Rex.
So my one, I don't know why I like it. I've always liked it, but I was trying to pronounce it before we started recording, and Darren was having a bit of a breakdown. So I've given up trying to pronounce it, and I'm instead going to play. Maybe you could do a little graphic of what it looks like.
Yeah, I'll do a graphic.
It's a herbivore dinosaur, and it's got like a fin on the back of its head. It's quite a placid one, but I can't pronounce it. So instead,
Parasaurolophus. Parasaurolophus.
There we go, that one. I'm not going to try and say it because I kept mucking it up. So that one, that's my favourite dinosaur. Quite a bit of a stark contrast to T-Rex.
Definitely a stark contrast to T-Rex. Thing is, I suppose, because Jurassic World or Jurassic Park's popularised it, most people would be, Velociraptor, T-Rex, that kind of thing, the spitting one, the Dilophosaurus.
But the Velociraptor was nothing like that. The real Velociraptor was about 3 foot tall. Theirs is Deinonychus, the one that's a Velociraptor. That's what was like a Velociraptor in the Jurassic Park films. Anyway.
Indoraptor.
I like the Indo. I don't know if it's a hot take. I quite liked
I think that is a hot take.
I quite liked the first 2 Jurassic World films. The one with the T-Rex, what was it called?
Yeah, the Indominus Rex.
Indominus Rex and the Indoraptor. I quite liked those 2. The third one was an absolute train wreck. I watched the cinema. I was like, absolute crap. Yeah. But anyway, thanks for the questions.
Thanks for the questions. Yeah, that's it for another episode. We'll be getting some more guests on. So
yes, there's some things in the works. Plus, there's exciting times for our podcast because obviously you've got a few guests lined up.
Yep.
Obviously, you're going to have within the next few months. So hopefully, will be a studio,
Yeah.
like a proper. It looks like we know what we're doing studio rather than just in the corner of someone's house. It'll actually look like we actually take it seriously.
Thanks for following along. Thanks for following things like Contrast Corner and all the
crap we get up to.
Fun things that we try and share with you guys. Like and subscribe and
the usual. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.